we blink an eye and we are overwhelmed with the amazing amount of news coming in tonight on the Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. 800-288-WBAP is our number. That's 800-288-9227. This grabbed me by the throat and threw me all over the place. Andy McCarthy, the former federal prosecutor for the Southern District of New York, where the Trump trial went down, and over the Stormy Daniels issue, with a rigged jury, with a rigged judge, and a rigged prosecutor. And it was unbelievable, too, when Judge Juan Merchan, whose daughter is in a very lucrative position doing political work for none other than Kamala Harris. And so the more he puts Trump in jail or prosecutes him, the more, or convicts him, the more his daughter gets enriched. In fact, she was sending out stuff for the Kamala campaign about Trump being a criminal and Trump being convicted and all sorts of stuff. She does very well when her dad rules that way. He refused to step down and all that stuff. But here's the thing. As you know, Trump was convicted by a jury, and the Judge Merchan also rigged it where the jury did not have to be unanimous. You could have 1/3 of the jury say, out of all these crimes he's been charged with and found guilty of, I vote for these 4 that he's guilty of. And then 3 other people in the jury may have said, no, those 4 he's innocent in, but these 4 he's guilty in. And then the other 3 may have said, no, he's not guilty of those 8 right there. He's guilty of these other 3. And then 2 others may say, well, no, he's guilty of this 4th one here. And you don't have to be unanimous on one charge. You can just be unanimous that one of the charges, one of the many charges, even though yours are different than their charges, that'll be enough. This will be thrown out eventually, and everybody knows it, in January, everybody that's honest. But the real big deal is this. You know, the sentencing is coming up September 18th, right? And unfortunately, the former federal prosecutor, Andrew McCarthy, is also a Fox News contributor and a columnist, etc., and he actually thinks that based on what has happened here and what the rulings are with Judge Juan Merchan, including recently, and I'll explain in a moment, that Trump's going to be sentenced to jail. Trump will be sentenced to jail, is what former federal prosecutor Andrew McCarthy says. And he said this whole thing was a joke. He was shocked. But nonetheless, today, with his analysis on the most recent rulings from Judge Juan Merchan and what he has said about the upcoming immunity hearing that will be revealed in what his rules are in the presidential immunity case, with the Supreme Court ruling a couple months ago on July 1st that, in fact, Trump has he's immune from criminal prosecution for any official acts taken, and also he is absolutely immune if the official acts are core constitutional duties of the chief executive. They also instructed this: immunity isn't just for the charges, but it's also for any evidence. Evidence meaning Hope Hicks and one other Trump staffer were called to testify in this case. 2 Trump staffers at the White House were called in to testify about what they witnessed as a Trump White House staffer in the White House while he was president. That has been ruled inadmissible. And what McCarthy suspects is going to happen is he's going to rule, you know what? The evidence that is ruled inadmissible by the United States Supreme Court does not make or break this case. I have considered that, and it's not enough to make my decision, even though it was the linchpin. And it was called critical. But he will overrule that. And he says, based on what he's been ruling in the past couple of cases, he denied the recusal motion to recuse himself because of his daughter's enrichment on this case. Just 2 days, or yesterday actually, he denied it, and he plans to rule on Trump's immunity claim by August 16th. Most importantly, McCarthy says Merchan admonished the parties to prepare for the court to move ahead with the imposition of a sentence. Here we go. Sentence is coming September 18th, instructing the lawyers to submit promptly any arguments they intend to make on the subject. We may read the tea leaves. And he does. And he says Merchan has already decided that Trump is going to be denied immunity. And there's a very high likelihood that he will impose a prison sentence on Trump on the 18th of September. Trump is going to jail. Now, this is stunning because Andy McCarthy is a milquetoast Republican who has 10% never been a Trump fan, 110% been against these decisions against Trump, says it's a joke, says it's a disgrace, the entire thing is rigged, but yet he now tells us that Trump's going to be sentenced to prison based on everything he is seeing in all the motions, the rulings, and the hearings. And he suspects Merchan will rationalize that Trump wasn't charged on official acts. He would have been convicted even if the prosecutors didn't introduce immunized evidence from his presidency. And the ruling might be wrong, McCarthy says, especially on the latter point, because this is totally, he said, prosecutors described some of the testimony from Trump staffers as devastating. But that's not allowed. It's not allowed. Merchan still made so many outrageous rulings in the case, it would be foolish to expect him to change course now. The other thing is a new Supreme Court decision, Erlinger versus the United States, says that you have to be found guilty unanimously, not pick and choose like this case. It's going to be thrown out, but he's going to jail. And he says he will be sentenced to jail and Trump will bail out and be out on bail. And then this is all for Kamala to point to him and said he is a convicted felon who is going to jail. Behold, in the weeks up until the election and the week of the election, he is a convicted criminal who has been sentenced to jail out on bail. And that's your election. And this was the biggest thing I wanted to tell you about because this rocked my world. And I put it first because of that. How do you think Trump being sent to jail will change the outcome of this race? That's my question. How do you think Trump being sent to jail would change the outcome of this race? Because he will be, according to McCarthy, and I believe him. And how will that make you feel about your country, about our elections and our democracy? And how hopeless does this make you feel now? How hopeless does this make you feel? And I'm going to be asking that question a lot tonight. I don't want to whiz in your Cheerios. I don't want to rain in your parade. Chime in right now. We got lines wide open. We got 3 minutes. We can get you on. Chime in right now. We'll put you right on. 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. How do you think Trump being sent to jail on September 18th will change the outcome of this race? And how do you think how would that make you feel about your country, our elections, and our democracy? And how hopeless does this make you feel? How hopeless does this make you feel? It made me feel hopeless. It made me feel like this is grander of a plan than I even thought it was, and this is unbelievable and insane. Everybody knows it's going to be overturned, but the effect is destroy him as a possibility and to usher Kamala in with no media interaction, no press conference for the first 40 days of her candidacy with only a couple, a month or so to skate through and be quiet. And there you go. And she's going to point to him and say, you're going to jail, sir. I don't understand why you're even on this debate, but I'm debating you because I said I would. And my hope is that it'll rally us and rally this country around him. My fear is that it will not because those independents are going to be so frightened away. And I hear Trump today, we'll get to this, we're actually going to get to this coming up next on his speech on the economy and stuff, and I'll hold off for that right now. But I'm telling you this, I think McCarthy's right, and I think Trump's going to be sentenced to prison. He will be allowed to post bail, and he will be free, but he will be a man going to jail. The Democrats will portray him as, quote unquote, dead man walking, not physically dead, but dead meaning he'll be in jail. And that is what I believe will happen. We have two lines open. I want you to get on the air right now. Chime in. 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, I'm going to give you a few more details on this. For example, how will this play out? What are the dates this is going to happen? And what is the overall objective here, according to Andy McCarthy? Let's pop in Anna in Carrollton first. It says Carlington, actually, first. I don't know if that's Arlington or a new city named Carlington. Anna, you're on WBAP. Hello.
Hello, my name is Anna, and I'm European, and I study English literature. Mm-hmm. And I remember about the story of Oscar Wilde, that he was a modern literature. He says, oh, they talk about me. I'm important then. So they talk about Trump. Trump is important.
But it's important to put him in jail and then call him a convicted criminal who's headed to jail. And that's what they're going to do.
They did on Oscar Wilde, too. But 100 years ago, they did, years after, they tried to Michael Jackson. But Trump is important. That's why they talk about Trump. That's it. Trump won't go into jail. Trump is important.
I mean, they're going to do this. I believe they're going to sentence him to jail. He'll bail out, and then they'll say he's going to jail, knowing that it'll be overturned on appeal. But they've got their man there and he's going to jail. What about how ignorant our population has become? You've seen Kamala surging, and you've seen that 70% of Americans supposedly say they have no idea what her policies are, even though the woman's a socialist leftist, more to the left of Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. It's stunning. Maybe our country has fallen this far that they're going to buy this.
Trump is a businessman, not a callous politician. I read the Trump biography. All the important people in the world, I read the biography. When Trump was a student, he went in the carpenter land where his father was working, pick up nails.
People haven't read this. And there's
I love Trump because he started from scratch in his life. And he didn't born a billionaire.
What do you think somebody who is ignorant and has no idea how much Kamala Harris is a leftist and has no idea that she's responsible for all these policies with Joe Biden and sees that Trump's going to jail, what do you think a person who's ignorant, who doesn't know which way to vote, is going to think of this?
Unfortunately, we have a lot of mediocre in the world, mediocre people. Last night, I was listening, a woman says, I don't vote for Trump because he says, she says. That's ignorant. So let's have a white president, black president, Indian native president, Chinese president. Let's make a minestrone.
I appreciate your call, and God bless you. All right, we got Linda coming up next in King. Let's see. It is. She's in Strom, Texas. I'm so sorry. Linda, you're coming up next. Plus your call. We have 3 lines open, 800-288-WBAP. How do you think Trump being sent to jail could change the outcome of this race? How would that make you feel about your own country and our elections and our democracy? And how hopeless does this make you feel? Because it sure makes me feel hopeless for at least a moment in this analysis. And I'll give you more details on why this is very likely to happen, according to a former federal prosecutor who represented this district in New York City. Next on the Chris Crock Show, News Talk 820 WBAP. I should say coming up at 8:18 on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. Trump is going to jail. That's what Andy McCarthy, former federal prosecutor for the Southern District of New York and Fox News contributor, says. He's not a fan of Trump's, but he has totally attacked this entire case in New York about Stormy Daniels stuff. And therefore, he has looked at what has just happened. He refused to take the presidential immunity. He's going to rule on that coming up shortly on August, I think, August 18th. In 4 days, I believe it is, he's going to rule, something of that nature. And he's going to rule based on everything he has seen. August 16th in 2 days. And he's going to rule that Trump's immunity claim on it. And he says that he's going to say the evidence does not, that was gained from the White House while you're a president that is immune doesn't change anything. It's not enough to change the case, which is BS. We all know that. And number 2, the fact that 2 top Trump aides that were in the White House and testified from what went on in the White House. Yes, that's not admissible according to the United States Supreme Court on its recent decision July 1st. It still doesn't change the case, in my opinion, and therefore the sentencing hearing stays at September 18th. He says when you read the tea leaves further in a Fox News column today, Rashan has already, that's the judge in this case, has already decided he will deny Trump's immunity motion. Moreover, there's a high likelihood he will impose prison sentence against Trump right after that. If Rashan had any intention of vacating the verdicts or recusing himself, he would have not stuck to the sentencing date, he says. This guy knows. He's a longtime federal prosecutor. He suspects that Rashan will rationalize that Trump wasn't charged based on presidential acts, would have been convicted even if all this stuff was not introduced into evidence that is no longer admissible. And even though the evidence from the White House stuff was ruled devastating, supposedly, even though the U.S. Supreme Court also ruled late in its previous session that just wound up in Erlinger versus the U.S., they reaffirmed in criminal cases important proof of elements and potential sentencing must be found unanimously in the jury. It wasn't. It was pieces found here, pieces found there. And if you got enough people saying yes, you got a guilty verdict from three different crimes, that's fine. He says that's why this is lawfare. Prosecutors and judges not concerned about whether convictions ultimately get thrown out. It's virtually certain Trump will get bail pending appeal. Rashan can appear to oppose a stiff incarceration sentence without any real incarceration for now, but he's going to go to jail and get out on bond, and then she'll be able to say, Kamala, look, a convicted felon sentenced to prison is my opponent. Behold. Questions are, how hopeless does it make you feel? How would it make you feel? If he does go to jail like this, how does it make you feel about your country, our elections, and our democracy? It makes me feel like our society is literally, our country is crumbling in front of our eyes. It's falling apart because it's fallen more and decayed more at the bottom than we even know. How would you think Trump being sent to jail would change the outcome of this race as well? I would hope people would rally around him, but we don't know, especially when the media just hates him and rigs it all for him. Let's go to Linda, and it says in Strom, Texas, you're on WBAP. Hello.
Hey, Chris. I mean, this world is so upside down. We are living in the end of times. And you know what? I mean, the Democrats don't know what to do. They're running scared. And the thing is that they're going to try to do anything and everything to take down their opponent who stands for America. And, I mean, it's Obama's fourth term. I mean, I don't want to start conspiracy theories and stuff.
No, it is. It is. Yeah.
Look at it. I mean, he failed with Hillary, and Trump put, a kink in it, and everything was great. And then you get Biden, who, during the pandemic, was like, okay, you can't see him, because they didn't want you to see how he was deteriorating. And then they get Kamala in there, which that was not his first pick. And then look, Obama and her close. So let's just put her as the new candidate for the presidency.
Yeah, while Trump goes to jail.
And I mean, it's just crazy. You can see it. But then it's also the voters who know nothing.
That's right. So that's my question. How is it going to affect the outcome of this race? It might hurt us badly.
I'm telling you what, I pray to God every day. I pray to God.
That's all we can do in this. I got to roll, but thank you. Philip and Temple, you got 30 seconds. Go. Kamala!
Hey, there you go.
You got 25 seconds. Go.
All right, quick. I've just become that much more motivated that, to fight this good fight and educate people and do what we can. It pisses me off.
The problem that you and I are in the 48% that always vote for him, it's not enough to win.
Nope, you're right. We got to do something with having a megaphone, like the mainstream channels, to inform the people.
No, they won't.
And I guess we have to do that by word of mouth right now.
Yep, and that's not going to be enough, I fear. I appreciate your call, and we have to continue to analyze this, but also coming up next, guess what? One well-known and somewhat revered pollster says if the election was held today, Trump would lose. And I believe that. And there's this incredible momentum from Kamala, from a separate pollster on a separate network. And we're in a bad way right now. And I don't think Trump's helping himself. That is next. Coming up next at 8:33 on the Chris Crock Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3, 800-288 WBAP is our number.
She's bringing out people who are not interested in voting for either Trump or Biden. So the entire electoral pool has changed. And if it continues in this direction, you have to start to consider Democrats winning the Senate and Democrats winning the House. The actual people who are participating, she's got intensity now. She's got an intensity advantage. She's got a demographic advantage. And I haven't seen anything like this happen in 30 days in my lifetime.
How big is that?
That's pollster Frank Luntz on CNN yesterday, I believe, or this morning, one of the two. And then we'll play some of him coming up next about young women and how there's no one left that he can't find. He's looking for young women he can poll. They ain't none of them left. They've already decided as of right now, and they're going. Some of them that were maybe Trump have shifted, and some of them were undecided have shifted to maybe Kamala. Like everything is shifted, and there's nothing left for maybe Trump in the female categories. What he is saying in his research, and he wants to host a panel again tomorrow. He said, and find female independent voters that are undecided. He cannot find any right now, and he says this is that. You heard it. In his 31 years or whatever of doing this, he has not ever seen anything like this. Well, in his whole lifetime, I should say. His whole lifetime, he hasn't seen something like this happen in 31 days. This is a 5-alarm fire. And listening to Trump again today, I didn't catch the whole thing, but pieces of his economic speech, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think it's the same old crap. And I got to be honest with you. And here's another poll, by the way, for the MRC Media Research Center, which definitely defends our side here, a more conservative angle for sure. It's 2020 all over again as it stands now. Another leftist media cover-up will decide the election. And their survey says that between 71 and 86% of Democrats and independents say they either had not heard of Harris's positions or were unsure of her positions. She is undefined and therefore is redefining herself. And what is Trump doing? Look, he is giving a speech that's an hour, hour and a half, or 45 minutes long, and it's caught in the weeds, and there's still some of the insults, the personal stuff, and it's not helping. And I am now beginning to understand or feel some certain things. And these rallies are, I love one of the headlines that was written today because I feel the same way. And have Trump's rallies become a political loser, from Dan Henninger in the Wall Street Journal today? Yes. Yes, they have. Because it's playing to the 48%. People like you and me that most likely already are going to vote. That's not going to get us the election. That'll get us a nice loss. We'll barely lose, but we'll lose. And he can't do this anymore. He had an economic message, but he did half of the same thing he does every time at a rally. And he says it's the point of diminishing returns. Something more is needed. They become like Grateful Dead concerts, which I went to about 3 of them when I was back in college days, and I enjoyed them all. I love the Dead. But nonetheless, he says it's the same with the Deadheads. It's the same Deadheads going to all the concerts. And he talked about one guy who we talked recently to that has been at more than 70 Trump rallies. That's great, but that's not going to win us the election. The number of people that show up is not enough to win the election. Saying the same thing and how awesome we are and how bad they are, which is true, is not going to win us the election. We are in a bad freaking way. We really are. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but we are. I told you this can all change in a week, in 2 weeks, and everything. And this woman, her position right now is from Reuters, Harris' energy policy is strategically ambiguous, her aides say. They're specifically not letting you know what her policy's on. Both sides are wondering what they are. She no longer backs a fracking. Everything she stood for, banning fracking, giving illegals citizenship, and no more arresting them, no more ICE, all that stuff, all gone now. Everything she said is all the opposite now. She's totally changed. No explanation, no worries. This is who she always was. Everything else is a lie. Her entire political career is a lie. This is the new truth. Behold, your moderate president coronated already. And what must be done are focused, direct messaging, not an hour speech where everybody's kissing your rump and you're winning over the same people. It's got to be slim and direct. I think the messaging ideas of one is going to town halls, doing town halls, where people who doubt you, who are in the middle, can hear you and see you. Doing town halls, that I think is a good idea that I saw. Another one is doing interviews in the swing states with local television anchors who will not rig it against you, and then that'll make the lead news, and that'll get out there, and the major media cannot stop that. And that's where to get exposure in those media markets in the major areas. Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, etc. Same thing with Wisconsin, Milwaukee, all the different markets, Madison, etc. This is also from Harry Enton on CNN. Trump's plunging support among non-college educated white voters in the Rust Belt states. I'll play that in a minute. We're in a bad way. And I have a few questions for you. And by the way, yesterday I had a listener that said, an African-American woman who called in and said, yes, Chris, I'm voting for Kamala. I voted for Trump before, but yes, I'll pay more for inflation, more for higher gas prices, more for insurance, and more for interest rates. Absolutely no problem. I remind you again what pollster Frank Luntz said today, like him or not, Trump would lose if the election was held today. And I believe that's true. I believe that's true. One of the stories that came out today as well from Axios, behind the curtain, what her plan is that she has to re-identify herself. And she can remake herself because the media ain't got no problem with that. Tickle our ears and win this election and keep Orange Man out of the winner's circle. So here's my questions for you. Why do you think Kamala continues to surge? Why do you think Kamala continues to surge? And how foolish and naive do you think Americans are? Are they going to buy this? Are we that far gone where people have no idea what they're voting for anymore? It's a vibe presidency. They have no idea. Tickle my leg, whisper into my ear some sweet nothings, and I'll vote for you. How much of this is actually genuine for Kamala and a supposed switch? How much of it's genuine? None of it is, but I'll ask you that question. And what does this say about her character and how she will lead us? Where, honestly, you spin the wheel and you'll find out whatever the issues is. Everything she said is wrong. Everything she's told you is wrong. Now there's something new. Spin the wheel and you get to find out what the issue is. You have no idea. And who's really in charge here? If this woman literally has no idea who she is and she's making up everything right now, but she's not telling you, what are the views of the people that are in charge? And will she go back to her old positions when she wins and ban fracking, make everything the new Green Deal? She was the tie vote cast. She cast the tie vote for the Inflation Reduction Act, which was ridiculed and laughed at. It's not done any inflation reduction, and the world knows it. But none of it matters anymore if we have an ignorant, fallen populace who has no idea what's going on. And maybe we're at that point. That was my thought today. And how hopeless does this make you feel? I'm asking that again today because it just makes me feel pretty hopeless if we're that gone. So here you are. Tate in Weatherford, you've called in at 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. Welcome to WBAP, Tate.
Hello, Chris. I am a Democrat, and I am elated about the situation. I predicted this because Donald Trump is his worst enemy.
That's true.
He reminds people of what they don't like. When he goes up to his rally with the insults, he insults everybody, including women, people of color. And, yeah, we are willing to deal with inflation and to make sure that he doesn't regain the office.
What do you think about these prices? 20% more today for everything that you consume on average from when the day Joe Biden took office. Your insurance increased 22% just from last year. You're willing to take continue to go in through this, knowing those prices will most likely never go back, and knowing that this all happened under Joe and Kamala, and that she said, by the way, 5 times in the past year that Bidenomics is working. Do you actually think it's working?
Yeah, but based on where we were, remember, we came out of the pandemic, 2020. Unemployment was at over 6%, and black unemployment was at 10%. So, yes, we are doing a lot better than what we were 4 years ago.
Inflation was 1.4%, and Joe took it, and Kamala took it, and raised it to 9.1. And even with the inflation going down to 2.9 today, none of the prices are going down. It's about prices, not about the numbers, isn't it? When you go to the grocery store.
Oh, yeah, but guess what's going to happen?
What's going to happen?
The Fed is going to drop the interest rate again.
You hope so.
Oh, it's going to drop.
No, it's not.
That's the plan.
You hope so. The plan is what he wants. He's independent, and you know that. It's very likely right now. I'm not arguing about that, but that doesn't mean it's going to happen because, as you know, new numbers come in all the time.
It's going to happen because you know why?
Because it was
it's all in the plan.
And the plan was it's transitory, it's a good thing, and then it lasted long, and then it was other things. And I think. But Tate, I appreciate your call. Zach and McKinney. Zach, you are on WBAP. What do you got?
Well, I disagree with you that Trump would lose the election if it was held tonight. I think he would definitely win, for sure. I'm not saying he's going to win in November. I do think he will, but yes, he could lose if he doesn't do things a certain way. I do agree that he should do some more town halls. He's always done really well on those. He did some earlier during the primary. He should start that back up again.
These rallies aren't working, are they?
I think they're working fine. They're packed to the gills.
That doesn't mean anything because that's not going to win the election. That gets you and me voting and 48% of the voters, but we can't win the election. Look at all these numbers that are coming in about independents and women and all this stuff. I mean, it's not going to do it.
The latest polls that I've seen shows that Trump's winning pretty good.
Which one?
Interactive polls. What's that one? I mean, I have to go. I
can see you and raise you. We're trading cards here. We're Pokemon cards or something. We're playing cards. I can see you and raise you a Fox News poll and also a Daily Mail poll.
Fox poll today came out and said that Trump is up by 1.
I know. And that's not very, encouraging.
Well, yeah, of course it's not.
We are number one.
All you got to
we are the winner,
point, so to speak.
What's that?
All you got to do is win by 1 point. This isn't.
But that's national. Here's the other problem. One of the latest polls that just came out about the swing states, the only one that Trump's ahead in is Nevada by 2, and he was way ahead in all of them before. What's happening?
I don't think those polls are all correct. I think they're trying to make people fall for the propaganda to think, we just need to just forget it, boys. Just don't even vote. Don't even bother going out there. That's all it's for. They said the same thing 4 years ago. Yes, I know Trump lost. Well, kind of. But
I love the way you said that. I love the way you said that.
Did lose, but
that's the right way to say it, by the way. Go ahead.
He didn't get beat horrible. I mean, he lost by just a few thousand votes.
And that's the same people we need now, and they're not trending towards ours. They're trending towards the other way. That's the big problem.
I don't know. I think the economy is people are going to vote by their pocketbook, Chris.
And I'm going to tell you this, and I think you would agree with me.
The only reason why Trump is not finishing up his presidential career right now is because of COVID. Simple as that. This time, they don't have that excuse.
He shot himself in the foot. He was his own worst enemy, and you know that, and I know that. When he's nasty, when he's talking about Kamala's race, what a disaster that was to say that. Don't you agree?
Well, he probably should have used something better, but hey, you know, they throw just as much derogatory statements to him.
Their job is to be dirty and to get away with it. Our job is to be above board and
Last time I checked, we didn't try to kill their nominee. They tried to kill our nominee.
I know, but listen, their job is to be below board and get away with it because that's how rigged it is, and you and I know that. Our job is to be above the board and still kick their A-word.
Well, you know, Chris, I do think we'll win back the Senate. We'll keep the House. We may not win the presidency, but I think we will, though. If I had to guess, I think Trump will figure out a way. Because this time he's going to win Georgia. I think he wins Nevada, and he'll win back Arizona.
That's still not enough.
He'll win one of the. He'll win North Carolina, and he'll win one of the three between Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania.
His lead in North Carolina has evaporated. Pennsylvania is slightly, I think, last time I saw.
Well, this
is not what we had. Let me tell you this, and I got to roll, but listen, this is not what it was before. I love what I read today about one thing. You know, you and I read all this stuff, and we go, that, you know what, that hit me, and that strikes me as correct. He is still prosecuting this like he's going against Joe Biden. You cannot do what he was doing. The whole game has changed, and he still hasn't been able to readjust and pivot for that, and that's where we're at now.
I watched his speech today at in Asheville, North Carolina.
How long was it?
He didn't mention. He talked for about an hour and a half.
Way too much.
2 hours.
Way too much.
No,
30, 20 minutes.
A little bit after 3.
Get on there 20 minutes.
He's not going to go in there for 20 minutes. I'm sorry.
Well, then
regardless, he talked about Kamala Harris from start to finish. He only mentioned Joe Biden like maybe twice.
Kamala will go on there. I got to roll now, but I appreciate your call, my friend. Kamala will go on there and read a script, the same script from the last 3-4 speeches, and do it for 20 minutes and get out, and she will win. And if we do these meandering 1.5-hour speeches with insults and this and that, it's not going to win. Focused, short. Here's what I did before. Here's what I'm going to do. Here's what they did, and here's what I'm going to do next. Boom. All right, 2 lines open, 800-288-WBAP. You're going to hear these 2 other polls that just came out. You're going to hear pollster from Fake News CNN, Harry Ensign, say Trump is plummeting, something fierce. It is not good. All that next.
So you think they were voting for Donald Trump, and now they're voting for Harris?
The people who are undecided have all collapsed towards Harris. The people who are weak Trump have all collapsed towards undecided. It's this broad shift. I'm trying to do a focus group tonight with undecided voters under the age of 27 for a major news outlet. And I can't recruit young women to this because they don't exist as undecided voters.
Let's go right to your call on this. Why do you think Kamala continues to surge? How foolish and naive do you think Americans are? They actually going to buy this? And how much of this is really genuine with her supposed conversion on everything with all the issues? And what does it say about her character and how she'll lead us? And how hopeless does it make you feel to see that Kamala is surging still and Trump doesn't seem to be gaining anything? And why? 800-288-WBAP is our number. Let's go to Levi in Dallas. Levi, what do you got?
Hey, what's up, Chris? How you doing?
What's up, brother? WBAP.
Hey, what's going on, man? I just want to say that I'm 25 years old. I do my own polling here in Dallas, obviously the more liberal-leaning town out of the entire Metroplex here. And I unequivocally talk to a ton of people in some of the most diverse bars you've ever seen. Nothing super honky-tonk that would make you think that it's super conservative or Republican. And you know what? I get a lot of people saying, hey, I voted for Joe Biden, but I'm going to vote for Trump this time. And they won't espouse that out loud. They won't say anything like that, but they'll tell me that. So I think this is just an entire liberal smokescreen. I think the media is propping it up, saying, hey, Kamala has the advantage, just to sway people from not wanting to go into that voting booth or showing up to the voting booth at all. That's my experience. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, I sure hope you're right, but I'm not positive on this at all. I think that they're literally gaming everything and rigging everything. They're keeping her quiet. They're denouncing everything she stood for. And they've coordinated her, and they're not having her run. She's not being flushed out by a Democrat primary. Unfortunately, I think you're wrong, and I hope you're right. I mean, that's just the truth of it. Bill and Anna. Bill, WBAP, hi.
Hi. Listen, yes, I'm disgusted with politics in Washington, D.C. and the judges and lawyers who manipulate stuff and have no punishment for their criminal acts. But let me throw a glimmer of light in your dim prophecies. Last election, Marist poll had Biden leading by 9 points. Mm-hmm. He only won by 4.5 points. So polling is inaccurate. And
I think it gives you an idea, but not a, it's not a litmus. It's an idea, but not a definitive.
Well, yeah, they had him leading by 10 points in October. And so if Trump is close to even 1 point or close, there's a big difference between trailing by 9 points and being close.
I got to roll, but I appreciate what you said and your optimism. I hope you're right, my friend. Okay, we're going to get into, we'll do a little bit more on this. I've got the polling numbers I haven't had the time to get to, and I got one more bite from Harry Enton at CNN you got to hear on polling, and it's not good for us. But here's the other thing. J.D. Vance and Tim Walz will debate, and it's coming up soon. I have all the details. We're going to talk about that next as well at 9:03 on News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3, Chris Kroc Show.